Solv, a B2B digital marketplace for small businesses, secures $40 million in Series A funding round led by Japan-based SBI Holdings with participation from SC Ventures. Following the fundraise, the startup expects to clock $500 million worth of GMV by the end of 2022. The United Nations commemorates 27 June every year as World MSME Day. Now, with the impact that COVID-19 has had on business models, especially the MSME segment across the world, the theme for 2022 is the need for resilient and flourishing MSMEs to achieve the UN Sustainable Development Goals and create a greener and a fairer economy. And to discuss this and more, joining me now are Amit Bansal, who's the CEO of Solv, a B2B digital marketplace for MSMEs that today raised $40 million in its Series A round of funding. And before Amit, coming to you first, and before we speak to you about the fundraise, let's talk about the theme for this year, which is to create a greener, fairer economy. At Solv, how are you aiming to do this? How are you ensuring a more environment-friendly sector with a lower carbon footprint?
Thank you for having me on the show, Shruti. I'll take your question in two parts, fairer and greener economy for the MSME. So we'll tackle the fairer part first. The fact that Solv is a complete marketplace. We are not in the business of disintermediation. We are creating a pure technology trust platform where buyers and sellers can congregate on the platform and conduct commerce or credit transactions in an environment of extreme trust, right? So this, we believe, will create a leveled playing field and a democratic way for MSMEs to transact with each other and eventually create a fairer economy for MSMEs. Now, in terms of creating a greener economy, almost $800 to $900 billion of goods moves within the retail sector, within the MSME sector by road in India, and which causes about 10% of overall greenhouse emissions. Recently, we launched Solv Evolve, which is a green initiative from Solv, which will transition all our deliveries from fossil fuel-based vehicles to complete EV and green vehicles by the end of 2023. And that should help us be a significant contributor to making the green economy.
All right. Amit, like I mentioned earlier in the introduction, you've raised $40 million in Series A funding round, which is led by SBI Holdings. It is one of their largest investments in the region. How does this partnership and the investment, give you significant tailwinds to become a dominant B2B player?
So, Shruti, at Solv, our core purpose, we are a very purpose-driven organization, is to improve livelihoods of MSMEs in the country. And there are about 60 million of them in India. And our purpose aligns very deeply with the MSME upliftment philosophy of SBI Holdings Japan. So in that sense, this investor is a real deep-rooted long-term investor on our cap table. This fundraise allows us to get into a lot of long-tail, high-margin categories, which in turn helps us intensify our focus on building unit economics positive and scaling the business responsibly. We're taking our business into more than 300 plus tier 2, 3, 4 cities over the next 12 to 18 months. And by the end of this year, we should scale at about $500 million GMV run rate.
All right. Those are great numbers. But Amit, if you could take me to the fund allocation plans, I believe you plan to launch additional high margin product categories, like you said, drive expansion of BNPL loans, particularly in the new to credit segment as well, and expand both in India and globally. If you could elaborate on the new offerings and the new markets that you are eyeing.
So to take an example, Panipat caters to a very large share of mass market home linen in the country, right? And let's take an example of Guwahati as a city in Northeast. So if goods have to travel from Panipat to a retailer in Guwahati, they typically will pass through at least 2 or 3, intermediaries. So what we are now doing is we are bringing a lot of factories direct from the source manufacturing hubs and partnering with these strategically located manufacturing hubs and giving them access to tier 2, 3, 4 markets. And in turn, for the tier 2, 3, 4 retailers, we are enabling them access to factories, which typically they would not have. So that's one. Taking factories to the tier 3, 4 is a massive initiative. The second is we are bringing a lot of new to credit or unbanked retailers into an inclusive credit growth, right? As we embark on our commerce journey, we collect a lot of transaction data, on the back of which we are building alternative credit modeling scores, which will help us further our agenda to bolster inclusive growth. We also have a very strong theme. In Africa and Asia, there are multiple countries like Kenya, Ghana, Vietnam, Malaysia, Bangladesh, which have a very similar and a vibrant MSME ecosystem like that of India. where the problems are very similar, the solutions we believe are very similar.
Sure.
So we're building a global tech stack out of India for these markets. And this fund infusion will enable us to launch those markets at a much faster rate.
All right, Amit, your final words?
We have almost 60 million plus MSMEs in the country that contribute to less than 30% of the GDP. As we move to $5 billion economy, their contribution has to grow. So there are two large theses that we have. Their access to quality products, access to the right kind of pricing, and access to the right kind of brands in a small store, because typically Kirana is a 50 to 100 square feet store.
Yes.
Their capacity to buy and capacity to sell is very small. So to serve small lots to them is a big challenge. So access to product prices and brands is the first thing that we are solving in a big way, because we are a complete aggregated marketplace. Because we are a marketplace, we are able to get access to a lot of sellers, and we are able to offer a one-stop shopping solution for the local Kirana and the local retailer on a single app. So they do not now have to go to multiple distributors to get products of different brands and categories. That's one. Secondly, as we embarked on the journey of commerce with the retailers, we realized that a very large chunk of them are either new to credit or unbanked. So which means the formal banks may or may not have a formal sort of scoring mechanism to lend to them. As we start embarking on a commerce journey, we collect a lot of rich transaction data, meaning what do they buy from us, how much they buy from us, how frequently they buy from us, what kind of products they buy from us. So all of these data points allow us to build an alternate credit scoring model, which we are in the process of beta testing over the last 2 quarters. So getting access of credit to the new to credit or unbanked is the second large problem that we're trying to solve at Solv.
All right. Many thanks, Amit and Anubhav, for joining us here on Startup Street, and wish you the both very best for all your growth plans.